GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good evening, Montreal. I'm Mark Beaumont. A court sentenced 2 mortgage fraud leaders to 4 years in hefty restitution while traffic remains clear across the island. Tonight's cultural calendar shines with Festival International Nuits d'Afrique lighting up the city. Emma, what do you make of that?
The Festival International Nuits d'Afrique returns to Parc Jean-Drapeau this weekend, featuring 12 African artists and a midnight drum circle on Saturday night.
Tickets are priced at $25 for general admission, with a student discount of $15, and the program begins at 7 p.m. on Friday.
Families can enjoy a variety of West African cuisine at 3 food stalls, and children under 12 receive complimentary entry throughout the 3-day festival.
The vibrant celebrations promise music, dance, and community spirit across Montreal, so lots to get to. Let's begin together. Good evening, Montreal. Yesterday, a Montreal federal court handed down sentences in a sprawling mortgage fraud case. Judge Salvador Macia sentenced the 2 leaders of the criminal organization to 4 years behind bars and ordered them to repay $1.5 million to the victims. The hearing took place at the Montreal courthouse on July 6, and both men faced multiple charges including fraud and conspiracy. The scheme, which targeted dozens of borrowers across the city, involved forged applications, inflated valuations, and a network of complicit lenders. Prosecutors said the defendants orchestrated the operation from start to finish, siphoning funds from home loans and leaving families in financial jeopardy. Victims, many first-time homebuyers, were left with damaged credit and unaffordable debt. The court's restitution order aims to return the stolen money to those harmed. Authorities said the convictions send a clear signal that organized fraud will be pursued aggressively.
Today, the Canadian swimming team announced that Summer McIntosh has withdrawn from the national trials being held in Montreal after testing positive for a viral illness. The 19-year-old, who has been a cornerstone of Canada's sprint freestyle and butterfly programs and is expected to anchor the squad at the upcoming Paris Olympics, was scheduled to race in the 100-meter freestyle and 200-meter butterfly events. Team officials said medical staff confirmed the infection and advised immediate rest to prevent further spread among athletes. Coaches expressed disappointment but emphasized the priority of health and safety for all competitors. McIntosh's absence reshapes the lineup for the final selection races, leaving other contenders to vie for the coveted spots on the Olympic roster. She previously captured gold in the 200-meter butterfly at the 2025 World Championships and set a national record in the 100-meter freestyle last season.
Residents and youth baseball players gathered at Jarry Park today to demand that the city and Tennis Canada pause the proposed redevelopment. The plan, unveiled earlier this year, calls for new tennis facilities and additional structures intended to modernize the historic park in the Villeray-St. Mitchell Park Extension Borough. Community members argue the project overlooks the needs of local families and the long-standing baseball program that serves dozens of children each summer. They stress that the existing fields are a vital gathering place and that any changes should prioritize affordable recreation for neighborhood youth. City officials have said the redesign aims to boost international events and attract investment, while Tennis Canada emphasizes the opportunity to host higher-level tournaments. The petition, signed by hundreds of residents, will be presented to the Municipal Council next week, urging a review that reflects the community's priorities.
Today, the courtroom in downtown sees the trial of a Montreal police officer accused of assaulting a citizen and filing a false accusation stemming from an incident in 2022. During cross-examination, the plaintiff offered evasive answers, refusing to confirm key details about the alleged violence. Prosecutors pressed for a clear account, while the defense highlighted the lack of direct testimony. The officer faces charges that could result in disciplinary action and possible criminal penalties if convicted. The judge has warned both sides that the proceedings will continue without delay, emphasizing the importance of factual testimony as the trial moves forward. The proceedings have attracted considerable public attention, with community members gathering outside the courthouse to observe. The court has scheduled additional witness testimony for later this week, signaling that the trial will likely extend over several days.
Quebec's government announced today that the province-wide ban on open fires is being extended to cover the majority of its forested lands, tightening access to several popular recreational areas. The measure, introduced as an ongoing response to a surge in wildfire activity, aims to lower the risk of new blazes by limiting campfires, charcoal grills, and other open flame practices. Officials said the expanded restrictions will apply to both public and private woodlands, with enforcement officers stationed at key entry points to ensure compliance. The decision follows weeks of heightened fire alerts across the region, prompting fire prevention specialists to recommend stricter controls. Residents and visitors are advised to seek alternative cooking methods and to respect posted signage, as authorities monitor conditions and will adjust rules if the threat level changes. Authorities will review the measures in the coming weeks. Next, we look at the Quebec Conservative MP who quit his party for a Senate seat, and why it matters. We will be right back.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches, no middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
Welcome back, everyone. Let's pick up where we left off, and now Emma Leclerc will take us through today's local stories, right here in Montreal.
Marc Carney, the Quebec Conservative Member of Parliament, announced today that he is leaving the Conservative caucus and will move to the Senate. The resignation comes as Prime Minister Marc Carney prepares to appoint him to the upper chamber, part of the Premier's first Senate selections. The Prime Minister says the move is intended to bring partisan voices back to a Senate that has operated with little party representation for a decade. Carney's shift will create an opening in his riding and adds a second Conservative name to the Prime Minister's initial Senate slate, which also includes a senior advisor. Political observers note the appointments could reshape legislative dynamics as the government seeks to rebalance party influence in the upper house. The transition is underway as the Prime Minister finalizes the Senate paperwork.
Today, the provincial portal that publishes final ministry exam results has crashed, leaving thousands of high school students and their families unable to view scores. Officials from the Ministry of Education confirmed a technical failure overloaded the system as results were released, and engineers are working to restore access. The outage began shortly after the results were posted, and the government has pledged to keep the site online as soon as possible. Parents waiting for their children's grades are being advised that updates will be posted once the platform is stable. The ministry has not given a timeline for full restoration, but technicians remain on duty to resolve the issue. Many students rely on these results to meet admission deadlines for colleges and vocational programs, and the delay adds uncertainty to their planning. This disruption comes at a critical moment for students planning post-secondary applications.
Labor groups are set to file a formal complaint with the International Labor Organization's Committee on Freedom of Association today. The grievance, submitted by 9 of the province's largest unions, targets a new statute introduced by Labor Minister Jean Boulet that they say curtails collective bargaining and other union activities. If the ILO accepts the case, the committee could review whether the law violates international standards on workers' rights. The move comes as many Quebec workers worry that the changes may limit their ability to negotiate wages, safety measures and schedules, issues that affect everyday life from factories to schools. Union leaders say the filing is intended to pressure the government to reconsider the provisions before they take full effect later this year. Local families who rely on union contracts hope the international review will preserve job security and fair pay.
Quebec has announced a $60 million investment to broaden the capabilities of its sawmills as the province's forest sector confronts a deepening crisis. The move comes after the United States imposed a 45% duty on Canadian lumber, a charge that has squeezed producers and threatened jobs across the region. By funding new equipment and alternative processing lines, the government aims to reduce reliance on the U.S. market and open pathways to other domestic and international buyers. Officials say the funding will be allocated over the next few years, targeting both large-scale operations and smaller family-run facilities. Industry groups welcome the support, noting that diversification could help stabilize earnings and preserve skilled labor in communities that depend on timber. The initiative reflects a broader strategy to safeguard the province's wood-based economy amid mounting trade pressures.
Christiane Germain stepped down from the board of directors at Santé Quebec today, ending her tenure with the province's health authority. The business leader, known for her roles in several private sector companies, announced the resignation in a brief statement released this morning. Santé Quebec, a government-run corporation that oversees public health services, counts a mix of public officials and private executives among its directors, and Germain's departure reduces that private sector representation. Health officials said the board will continue its work on system reforms and service delivery without interruption. Residents can expect the agency's ongoing initiatives, such as hospital capacity planning and vaccination program oversight, to proceed as scheduled. The resignation will be noted at the next board meeting, where a replacement will be considered. For patients awaiting new service agreements, the change is unlikely to affect day-to-day care.
Now let's get a quick look at tonight's forecast with our weather team.
A stalled ridge over eastern Canada forces relentless heat, while a quiet jet leaves Montreal cloud-free this evening. On this date, the all-time high for Montreal stands at 33.2 degrees, recorded in 2020 during an unprecedented heat wave that pushed temperatures well above the usual summer peak. The coldest reading was 13.2 degrees, set in 2018 when a polar air mass slipped southward, delivering a rare dip in the middle of July. By contrast, our climatological normals hover around 29 degrees for the high and 18 for the low, making today's 32-degree peak feel hot, but not record-breaking. The live radar shows a blank canvas across southern Quebec. No rain echoes, no squall lines, just clear returns. A high-pressure dome sitting over the St. Lawrence keeps the air sinking, suppressing lift and moisture formation. With the jet stream sliding gently northward at 41 kilometers per hour, any disturbance remains well to the west. That stability carries through the night, so I'm turning now to tonight's outlook. At 6 p.m. Montreal sits at 27 degrees under a cloud-free sky, humidity hovering around 30%, and a gentle southerly breeze of 15 kilometers per hour. The atmosphere is dominated by a near-average pressure field that is holding steady, while a modest jet stream to the north travels at 41 kilometers per hour, steering any upper-level disturbances far to the west. With the ridge locked in place, the surface air continues to warm through the evening, reaching 27 again at 7 o'clock before slowly descending after midnight. The UV index remains at 7, and wind stays below the 25-kilometer threshold, so no gust concerns. No weather alerts are active. With the night holding this pattern, let's glance at the 5-day outlook. Looking ahead, Wednesday brings another clear spell with a high of 30 degrees and a low of 19, the ridge persisting and keeping the jet stream northward. Thursday is the first break. A weak frontal boundary slides in, generating light rain and a 45% chance of showers, while temperatures dip to 25 for the high and 20 for the low. Friday rebounds to a dry, warm day, high 28 and low 17, under the same high pressure. Saturday repeats the Friday feel, high 26, low 17, clear skies. Sunday closes the workweek with overcast clouds, a high of 28 and a low of 18, as a lingering moisture tongue from the Atlantic pushes eastward. The pattern remains dominated by a stable ridge, so temperature swings stay moderate. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunset is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Stay tuned as we preview tonight's traffic, the Wimbledon Showdown with Augur Aliassime and the Festival International Nuits d'Afrique. We will be right back.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches, no middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
All the major arteries are flowing freely this afternoon. Autoroute 6, Autoroute 15, and the Descartes Expressway report no slowdowns. Downtown corridors such as Rue Shairbrook, Boulevard St. Laurent, and Rue St. Denis are clear with travel times matching normal conditions. The bridge across the St. Lawrence shows no congestion, and the island's main commuter routes remain open. With no accidents on the road network and transit running on schedule, commuters can expect a smooth ride for the next few hours. As the evening approaches, traffic typically begins to build around the downtown core and the southern suburbs, so plan for a slight increase near the office districts after 6 o'clock. Otherwise, keep your usual routes and enjoy the open roads. No roadwork is scheduled for today. If you head toward the airport, Chemin de la Côte Vertu stays clear, as does the stretch of Autoroute 5 to the west. Drivers heading north on Route 1 see the same free flow.
Festival International Nuits d'Afrique lights up the Quartier des Spectacles today, a celebration of African, Latin American, and Caribbean music, workshops, and performances. It's the excuse to step outside, soak up vibrant rhythms, and discover new sounds on every street corner. Film lovers can still wander the Fantasia International Film Festival, where daring genre titles keep Montreal's screens buzzing with horror, sci-fi, and fantasy thrills. If you crave something off the beaten path, the festival's bold programming offers fresh perspectives you won't find in mainstream cinemas. Startup Fest arrives at the Old Port later this week, gathering entrepreneurs, investors, and curious locals for pitches, panels, and nonstop networking. Attend and you might witness the next breakthrough idea take shape right before your eyes. Starting Thursday, the Taste of the Caribbean sets up on Clock Tower Pier, serving island-inspired dishes, live music, and cooking demos. It's a summer feast that brings the flavors and spirit of the Caribbean straight to the waterfront. And now here's Jason with sports.
Here's the latest from Montreal's courts, fields, and ice, all in this sports update. Montreal's Félix Auger-Aliassime surged back in his Wimbledon quarterfinal, clinching the second set against seven-time champion Novak Djokovic after stringing together 3 dazzling points. A down-the-line winner, an ace, and a third precision shot, Sportsnet reports. Evelyn Badu delivered a hat-trick as the Montreal Roses overwhelmed Vancouver Rise, posting a 5-1 victory in the Northern Super League on Saturday, CBC Sports Soccer notes. The decisive win underscores the Roses' attacking depth and Badu's rising profile. The Montreal Canadiens have moved forward, sending forward Brendan Gallagher to the Vancouver Canucks in exchange for future considerations, according to CBC Sports NHL. The trade opens a roster spot for Montreal while giving Vancouver a seasoned scorer for upcoming campaigns. Goaltending legend Carey Price was elected to the Hockey Hall of Fame, joining the 2026 class alongside Pekka Rinne, Keith T. Tkachuk, and Cindy Curley. The Montreal native's induction underscores his lasting impact on the franchise.
Steve's Music Store on St. Laurent Boulevard in the Plateau has been a Montreal staple for 61 years. From vintage guitars that sang with local bands to beginner keyboards that sparked first chords, the shop was more than a retail space. It was a rehearsal room, a meeting place, a launchpad for countless artists. Today the owners announced the closure of the last remaining location, marking the end of an era in the city's music scene. Neighbors recall the nightly jam sessions that spilled onto the street and the friendly advice that turned strangers into lifelong customers. Steve's legacy reminds us that the sound of Montreal is built by places that listen, teach, and keep the rhythm alive. And later, we celebrate the legacy of Steve's Music Store as it bows out, honoring a beloved local landmark. Stay tuned.
If you run a venue, a comedy night, a concert, a fundraiser, you already know the hardest part isn't the show. It's selling the seats. Theaterfiller changes that. In minutes, you're set up with your own ticketing page, QR code delivery, and a door scanner. No technical headaches. No middleman taking a cut of your night. Your event, your tickets, your revenue. Go to theaterfiller.com and fill every seat.
In the vibrant courtyard of the historic St. Louis School in St. Laurent, the evening air is already humming with anticipation. Tonight, families, students, and longtime fans gather under strings of amber lights to welcome the first of 8 concerts that mark the 40th anniversary of Montreal's Nuits d'Afrique Festival. On stage, a young drummer from Bamako lifts his hands and the pulse of a djembe rolls across the plaza, mingling with the scent of grilled suya and the distant echo of a saxophone that has traveled from Dakar to the Plateau. Over the next week, more than 700 artists will fill venues from the Place des Arts to community centers in Verdun, each performance a thread in a tapestry of rhythm, song, and shared stories. The real magic arrives when, after the final note, strangers link arms, children sway with their grandparents, and the crowd erupts in a spontaneous chorus that feels like a celebration of the city itself. It reminds us that music can turn ordinary streets into places of belonging. Montreal's heart beats a little brighter tonight.
On Saturday afternoon, the historic St. Joseph's Oratory Courtyard turned into a literary gathering as best-selling author Rachel Reed arrived for the Montreal stop of her national book tour. The event, hosted by the independent shop library L'Atelier on St. Laurent, celebrated the deluxe hardcover release of her latest novel, a richly illustrated edition that has already topped the national bestseller list. Fans stretched along the cobblestones, clutching early copies while the scent of fresh paper mingled with the aroma of roasted coffee from a nearby cafe. Reed, in a navy sweater, paused to sign a copy for a 12-year-old who whispered that the story had inspired her to start writing. As she read the opening paragraph aloud, the crowd fell silent, the words echoing against the stone arches, reminding everyone why stories matter. The moment captured the spirit of the city, a shared love of words, a community gathered under the spring sky, and a writer whose words feel like home. It's a reminder that in Montreal, great stories find a warm place to live.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us on the local sunset. Tonight's look at Quebec's new open fire ban highlighted how safety is reshaping our province. I appreciate your trust in us. Tune in tomorrow for more stories that matter to our city. Stay safe and stay informed. See you then.